and today we have someone I have known now for 2 or 3, if not more years, and I am never failed to be amazed and inspired by what Annie gets up to in her life, even though she thinks she's very stressed. She's not. She's beautiful. She's brilliant. So let me introduce you to the awesome Annie Raven Vouse. Good morning, Annie. How are you?
Hi, Bev. I'm fine, thank you.
She's looking amazing, honestly. So,
Yeah.
Annie, let's hear a bit more about what you do. What's your business at the moment?
So, well, the business is called Heart-Led Wellbeing, and it's all around providing a tailored mental health and wellbeing solutions for not just companies. I also work with private individuals, but what that actually means is helping people move from a position of feeling glued and overwhelmed and they can't cope and they don't know which way to turn, and that's on both sides of the fence, organisation or individuals, to actually finding a way forward that fits with who they are and where they want to go. So it's all around change, really.
So we hear a lot about mental health today. I think the news is all full of mental health and mental health in schools. Do you think that there's been a big change in the way we manage our lives these days, or is it just a bit of a fad in the newspapers?
Possibly yes to the bit of a fad. It seems to be the in thing to talk about,
Yeah.
which actually, from my point of view, is fabulous, because that means that people aren't sitting at home wondering if they're crazy to have such thoughts, feeling that they can't talk to anybody, feeling that it's going to affect their career or their relationship and stuff. It's okay now to say, I need help and I'm struggling. A lot of people also use the stress word, and whereas sort of maybe 10 years ago people in organisations were going, oh, he's a bit of a stress head or she's a bit of a stress head, now that term has actually gone, thank goodness. But then it's actually okay for people to say, do you know, I'm struggling, I'm finding life really difficult, I feel very stressed and anxious. And GPs, healthcare professionals, organisations are responding to that sort of stated need, and they're actually helping direct people with where to go so that they can access services. And the government, a while ago now, it's still running, they committed nearly £40 million towards improving access to psychological therapies. It's called the IUPT agenda. And that's where services like Steps to Wellbeing have come to the fore, because in owning it, people can actually then make a decision about looking at their life with help and actually seeing where in their life things are working for them and where they need to actually make a difference. And it's kind of what I do is sort of bridging the gap. So if an organisation is finding difficulty because the staff are switched off, their morale is low and they're leaving in droves, that has a huge cost to an organisation. And I will sometimes go in and work with that organisation to put a wellbeing strategy together that we can actually get the staff re-engaged, re-motivated, feeling that they are working for NASA, that they are part of the team, if you like that working for NASA means, and that they want to be happy at work, because let's face it, we spend a large volume of our time at work for a great number of years, and nobody wants people to be unhappy. So organisations will work with me. On the other hand, we'll get private individuals that will come, maybe they've hit their own wall, maybe they're being made redundant, they might be having marital pressures at home, financial worries, they might be causing things like lack of sleep. But basically, their circuits are feeling a bit fried and overcooked, and they just need that safe space where they can actually really explore what they're doing and whatever it is they're doing, what that's getting for them in terms of their health and well-being. And then they can be supported to actually make some healthier choices. Because often, let's face it, if you go to work and you're worried about performance because the boss is on your back, and to develop all sorts of unhelpful habits like going in work early, skipping lunch, skipping breakfast.
You're talking about my life when I was actually working.
That's we've all done it. We come home late and we go, my God, I've worked hard today. I deserve a glass of wine. And pretty soon over the week, one glass becomes two.
Yeah.
And I'm too tired to cook, so I might graze on a bit of cake and a butty, or I might even order in a takeaway full of salt and sugar and stuff like that. So people, when they come to work with me, it's not just about their mental health, because you can't separate mental health from physical health. And people have a big fear of saying, I've got a mental health breakdown or a mental health issue, yet they would have no problem saying they've overworked a muscle and they've got a pulled or strained muscle. It's actually the same. It's just a different part of your anatomy. So just as we would take a comprehensive look at a muscle strain and what brought it on and how we can rest it and how we can actually make it heal quicker, we do exactly the same for problems going on with people's psyche and in their mental health.
That's amazing. And then it's a good thing that we have that today. So how did you get into this? Tell us a bit about where you came from and how you got into this.
Well, I started out as a carer, informally. So I've been looking after people since, believe it or not, I was 12. So obviously a long time ago now. And then when it came to that pivotal O's, A-levels, where do I go in my career? I chose to go into nursing because I still had somebody I needed to look after in the background. And fortunately, I liked it. And so I went first to be a general nurse in the days of the old state registered nurse. Then I decided, then I thought I'd achieved it. 3 years of training. I was a qualified nurse. I'd got my little, in those days, buckle, nurse's buckle. And then one of the rotten ward sisters turned to me and said, well, it doesn't stop there, honey bun. You might have got your SRN, but you need to do more, especially if you want to be a ward sister. So I then went on and chose to do midwifery, and I had delivered over 70 babies, 3 sets of twins.
Oh, wow.
And then I kind of travelled the world a bit, and then I came back to it and I did my degree in nursing, and I then went on through the kind of ranks. So I did, operational management, and I ended up as a deputy hospital manager in the NHS, in a community hospital. And then I moved over to education and ended up as a head of education. And then I kind of decided that the NHS and some of its difficulties, its politics and things, wasn't actually supporting me to actually stay healthy. Mm-hmm. So I made some conscious choices, and I decided that caring is really who I am and what I'm about. It's something I've done all of my life, but I wanted other people to have that support that maybe I didn't have when I was actually, an organisational manager. So I basically set myself up in business, and I decided that I was going to be go and work back with the NHS, but maybe in a position whereby I wasn't trying to push jelly uphill from the inside, but actually I was being brought in when somebody had a problem. So I've done lots of service reviews, and then I got into training because I love going out and working with groups of people and helping them kind of change. And from there I met more than one person. I mean, it just became like a sea of people that were sitting there going, I wish I could be like you. I wish I could have a conversation with my manager that, made it very clear that I was unhappy. I wish I could say things like you do. So I went off and trained to become a coach. So first of all, I started working as a coach around performance and effectiveness. So helping teach those confidence boosting skills and things like that. And then as I got more into that and more experienced at doing that, I'd got all the diagnostic tools, and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, the one thing I've always felt able to do is talk to people, and I've been doing that for such a long time. So, and people, when you're a nurse, people tell you stuff, and it can be really entertaining at dinner parties.
Like the hairdresser. I tell my hairdresser everything.
Yeah, but it's all sorts of intimate stuff. Yeah. I mean, kind of like the number of men I know, and they'll tell me about their fertility, and then tell me about their hemorrhoid, all sorts of interesting things. So from being a coach, I then decided to go back and do further training and become a psychotherapist. So I now work as a BACP registered psychotherapist in my own practice. And then I'm also recently taken on a role as with one of the healthcare trusts, working with their mental health panels.
I'm going to jump in here, Annie, because I get the impression Annie has really done everything she needs to do to be good at what she does. It's amazing. But I want to touch on something here because I've known Annie a while. Annie's written a book. And I want to touch on this book because I've read the book as a, and it's amazing. So when it comes out, you've all got to go and buy it. But it was a real thing, wasn't it, for you, as I looked at it, Annie, that the change from being in the NHS and doing your own business now, I almost felt that in the book. Tell us about the book.
Well, the book happened because of a lunchtime conversation, really. Because my husband sat there and said to me, well, what are you going to do next tonight? And he said, and I said, oh, I don't know, I fancy writing a book. And he went, okay. And he's kind of very good at holding me to account for these kind of like half-hearted conversations that I might have. And he said, what are you going to write your book about? And I said, well, I don't know, I haven't really thought about it. And then one day I was sitting there thinking back around, well, what would I write a book about? And a long time ago now, it seems, Francis turned to me when I first met him and said, when will you show me who you really are, not who you think I want to see? And I was a bit outraged, if I'm being really honest, Bev, because I'm going, what, this is me.
I spent hours creating this.
This is my best bib and tucker. And he went, no. And I went, what do you mean, no? And I was getting really quite defensive. And he went, no. He said, this is the mask. This is who you think I want to see. He said, I'm actually much more interested in finding out what lies behind the mask and who the real you are. He said, because you've spent a lifetime standing at people's bedsides, breaking bad news, holding hands, keeping it all together. He said, and you're so used to keeping people out. He said, I wonder what it's like on the other side and that kind of thing. So the book's called Masquerade, When Will You Show Me Who You Really Are? And it's a book that you can read and work through. So it's got little blank pages that you can write yourself notes and that kind of stuff like you do. Because I don't mind if you scribble in books and things. I know my mother would be going, but actually, if you want to put notes in the margin or wherever, fine. Well, what I did was I played with this idea of a mask, and it's something I see in the consulting room because people come to see me and they don't always tell me what's going on the inside. And I sit there and I kind of get this funny kind of like squiggly feeling in my tummy that goes, who is this really? What's really going on with this client? What's going on at a deeper level? And so I'm used to seeing other people's masks, but I've never actually looked at my own mask. So I've taken the idea of the Venetian Carnival because I love the glamour and that kind of party spirit.
I've seen the masks. They are extraordinary.
Yeah, they're totally awesome. And I had a lifetime goal to go to Venice, which I achieved last year as part of the journey of the book. But I actually created 12 different masks. Some I've bought in and then made the costumes to go with. Some I've created from scratch. And I've given each mask a title. And then with each title, I explain why that mask and what the colour combination means and all that kind of stuff. And then at the end of the chapter, having explored that notion, you then get questions that you can ask yourself and you can write your own answers. Yeah. And the plan for the future is that I'm going to run some workshops where people can come together and be supported in a safe environment to actually take stock of their life. And if there's stuff that they actually decide that they're doing out of habit, because we all have habits, that actually isn't really supporting them to be all of who they can be, then they can actually receive some group support plus support from me to actually make the changes that they want.
Amazing. You've done so much, and I'm always in awe of Annie and the life she's lived in the giving. Annie gives a lot, and I can't wait to see how the book's going to be amazing. I know I'm going to be buying a copy because even if I just get to look at the pictures, they are rather gorgeous. So I want to thank you for taking your time out, Annie, to talk to us. I want to say to everybody out there, go find the book. And equally, Annie talks about this brilliantly and talks to groups of people. So if you wanted to come and talk to you about this whole mask thing, then get in touch with Annie. So Annie, thank you for taking the time to talk to us. And I hope that, well, I know your book's going to become a #1 bestseller.
Thank you. It's been great.
Good. I will put Annie's details at the end of this on her page, so you'll be able to contact her, where you can buy the book, all that sort of stuff. So there's no excuse. All right then, thank you people, and look out for the next one soon.